Okay, so welcome. As you can see, I am not Mark. I'm not coming through there.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not Mark. I'm much better looking.
We won't argue that.
Okay, so this is the November club meeting, or excuse me, the October club meeting. Today we will be doing whiskey smokers. Jeff will be doing a whiskey smoker. Just something to put on your calendars. November 19th is the club meeting that Mr. Matt Harbour will be doing an off-center Christmas tree. The 26th will be the workshop, also on off-center Christmas trees. December 10th, this is a change, so note this. December 10th is our holiday party. It will be at noon. We think it's going to be at the church. I have not gotten 100% confirmation on that yet. We're waiting to hear back from the church to make sure that they will allow us that day.
What? Are you gonna run the mic out? Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Tell them to hold it right to their mouth.
Okay, first off, are there any new people? New people, stand up and introduce yourself.
I'm Bob Woodford. I've only been in 1836. Have a lot to learn. I've used it some and other things that in the past. I was in a group a while ago when they were over in the off Ryan at the Nature Center. So that's
Welcome, Bob. This
and
is
Jeff
Amy.
introduced me here. So thank you so much.
Bob, welcome, good to have you. Okay, second.
My name is Kristen. I'm interested in woodworking, so I'm here.
Welcome, welcome.
You got the next demo.
Got one more? Oh, yes, sir.
I'm Cindy.
Welcome. And we are extremely happy to see you back. Did you have, are you?
Yeah, Nelson, this is my second meeting. Right on.
Awesome, very good. Welcome. Another new one? Oh. Paul Circle is not new.
No. Please contact me or see me after the meeting, during the meeting. If you need help.
Who are you?
What about the old members who still need help?
It's Chris Miller here. Oh,
Yeah.
exactly, that's the problem. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
I got a quickie. I joined them like 2 months ago. Where do I get my name tag from?
I'm gonna blame it on Mark.
Okay.
No, who's in?
I can answer that.
Okay,
We have a new membership person, a chairperson. The person that did before got overwhelmed. So, Glenn McCullough is working on that. He's sitting over here. He'll be the one to develop your name tag for you.
Okay.
So you may want to talk to him during break or something.
I won't be back till May.
Okay.
oh,
So we got plenty of time to make it. Okay. We'll make it real slow and precise.
okay, yes, sir, good. Did you, oh, okay. Okay, I don't know who saw the email yesterday, and evidently I messed up one of the attachments, so I apologize for that. We are doing a group buy for chef specialties, salt and pepper mill mechanisms. They're very good mechanism. You can create some really beautiful salt and pepper shakers or mills, excuse me, not shakers, they're mills. I just want to give you the opportunity. We are getting them for close to wholesale. And I show on the spreadsheet how much you're saving and on each side. So if you don't have the mechanism to print or use the Google Doc or the Excel spreadsheet, I did print out a couple. I did not have enough for everybody.
Oh.
I got a bunch of them over here. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
That might be. Paul, can you deal with it?
Which one?
Not me. Okay. But like while they're looking here.
I think the ones that are on the line, I looked at them, all metal or there's no really plastic parts. Really good quality.
So if you need an order form, go ahead and here, and any checks go to DAW. Please don't write me a personal check. I might be tempted to cash it. No. Okay. Does anybody have any tools they would like to review? What we want to do is we want to reintroduce this, where if you find a tool that you really like or you find really helpful in a certain situation, don't hide it from the rest of us. Come out and tell us what it is. Okay, that's be really helpful. I'm actually meant to bring one with me, but I will bring it on November. That I found really helpful. So if anybody has any of those things, please bring them with you. Even if it's as simple as saying, hey, I like the Crown David Ellsworth Pro PM bow gouge better than I like some other bow gouge. That's great. We want all the information we can so we can make decisions on how we do our individual work. That's just trying to help. Okay. We are now, this is a little bit of a change. We are going to do show and tell at the beginning of the meeting. The reason is because, in my opinion, and of course my opinion counts today, the most important thing about this is celebrating the work that you guys do. And for others to learn from the work you do. So if you guys have brought something for show and tell and want to come up here and show it, please go get your stuff, come up here, let the Zoom people see it, tell us the wood, tell us the style, and maybe just a little blurb about your inspiration for it. Okay, so go get your stuff and bring it on up.
I'll do mine first, so I guess.
Three people not at the meeting.
I'll start and help people. This year's cherry, the bowl that I did a few years ago for an anniversary, involving some carving and texturing. If you notice, it's a lot darker than what you see with cherry. That's because I mix the lye and water. And when you do that, oh, I'm sorry,
You're on the front camera there.
Yeah. It'll change the color. It'll darken it, and then you rinse it with water. Wait a day and resand it. Go from there.
Okay, wait. Alright, so how do you get the texture? You texture the whole.
You know those vegetable things with the grater on it? That's what we did for this year.
The whole bowl first,
The whole, yeah,
and then you went back and.
and took this out
Cut it with how?
with that vegetable grater.
Microplane.
Okay, microplane, that's it. It took a while.
Demo.
And then I took paint and went in here in the holes and wiped it off, so it darkened in there.
You texture the whole bowl first with the little texture thing, and then went back and cleared out.
It textured the whole thing and then, went over it again on the curves and stuff. This is something you can do if you got bad wood. This is just Rust-Oleum paint. And I splattered a white paintbrush.
And you attach the spout and the handle with epoxy.
Correct, yes. And this here was a little bit of design with flowers and wood burning, one dot at a time. I did fall asleep doing this and I burned a hole right through it. I had to fill it in.
In your hand.
But the teapots are kind of fun. They're not that difficult. It's like making a bowl and then just carve out a couple of things and glue it on there.
You carve the spout.
Yeah, I carve with a power carver. To get this here, just tape some sandpaper on the bowl while it's on the lathe and then stick it and it'll form to it. It'll give it that form. I'm gonna let somebody else come in here because I know we have a lot. Beautiful job, beautiful work.
I did the demo last week at threading, and I said, well, there's also the alternative to threading, and that is one bayonet mount, and these were 3D printed, and it turned out.
Yeah, up to the camera, front camera.
So, originally what I did is, I put a tenon on both ends, cut it in half, glued it and hollowed it out, glued it back together and then burned where you can't see it. But then I have this bayonet mount that goes in and it just spins. And it's 3D printed and I can print more of those for anybody who wants them.
Paul, can you describe what that is? I'm trying to see from here. Is it like a cam kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a cam thing.
Oh, in front of the camera, Paul, right in front of you, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's good.
Oh,
Now hold it for me. No, not that, the whole thing.
I see what you mean. Saying that, okay.
I gave you some bayonets.
Yeah, I've got them in a little box. On top of everything else.
So then I decided this week I was gonna try to make a heart out of a sphere. And I ended up with a spaceship.
What is that? I took a picture of it.
It's a spaceship. So I was trying to figure out what I did wrong. Well, what I did in order to cut the sphere in half is I did one of these and drilled a hole so that I could put the ball in there and glue it in and make it stick so I could run it across the bandsaw.
Up front of the camera.
There you go.
Yeah. So then I made this other piece, which is just sanded and it's got a bevel on it. And I put tailstock on and put half the sphere in here in a ball, in a plastic piece of pipe. And then made that tilt so that it was like this.
Okay.
And then I turned one plane. And what I did is make the spaceship. I did one up here where I had the mark and one down here. And so I ended up with a parallelogram. And if I do it the opposite way, so I have the two fat sides on top or the two fat sides on the bottom, I should end up with a heart. So next meeting, I should have a heart for you.
Or a spaceship.
No, I don't. It's proof because I had a heart scan and they didn't find anything.
Alright.
No heart and no skull.
In the bathrooms for sale, a wood dryer or microwave, you dry your wood, $20 or best offer. That's for the club.
This is about the easiest thing that anybody could ever do. It's a spindle turning. I brought this in to show you because I'm putting this piece of wood on the raffle table for anybody that wants it. This is Ipe, South American ironwood from South America. And it's just heavy as hell. I'm gonna pass these around so you guys can actually feel it and see the finishing put on this. This is great for tool handles and any other kind of spindle work you need to do. This will be on the table here today. So if you get the number and you want it there, and these are them. I make martial arts weapons for the martial arts community worldwide. Feel 15 countries buying my stuff. And this is simply a pair of nunchaku without the string that put into it. And as you see that, we have the person's name laser engraved and my logo laser engraved on there.
Nice.
So
Very nice.
So I'm pass these out so you can see them, and this will be on the table for anybody who wants it if you get lucky.
Good job. Smile.
He is smiling.
So y'all know I do natural edge stuff. This is Jerry.
Here on front camera.
Finish is Helmsman spar urethane, natural edge. I lost some of the edge clearly in the effort, but I was cleaning up a bunch of stuff that in the shop that had been sitting around for a while, and so that's what all this is. This is box elder. This is an experiment. I built a little fixture for my bandsaw that lets me cut things on the bandsaw and finish bowl. So this was just a sort of experiment to show what could be done. So these all line up, but this is box elder. So, and this is Sherry. I did a demo for Eddie Castlin's meeting on spindle turning, and the use of a string steady rest. So, and these are another. This is another one of my goblets. This is natural edge goblet.
Thank you. So, and you get this slant bit on here by setting, when you put the branch with the bark on it in the lathe, you just, instead of being right on center, you just off center it a little bit. And I do a demo on that too. Beautiful work. I just lost. Screen fell on this.
Oh.
Okay, hold on. Okay, my show and tell today is actually what I'm gonna be demoing, and that's a whiskey smoker. Basically, I call them pucks, and this is how I sell them with the wording, it's 5 o'clock somewhere on it. Basically it sets on top of the glass, you fill it up with wood chips, hit it with a butane lighter, and all the smoke goes down, fills up your glass and smokes your whiskey. So, and I'll be demoing that later on today. So with the whiskey.
I'm gonna pass it around.
Yes, it did.
Okay, end grain printing. I had a couple pieces of elm sitting around and I was feeling bored. And I rough turned these are twice turned. But I was very happy with the way the wood came out. While it was turning, I was very unenthused. But the moment I put walnut oil on this, I just got such beautiful figure on it. And so and one of these days I'm going to bring in something that's small, just to spite you all.
For new persons, can you explain what twice
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Twice turning. What is twice turning? When you get a piece of wet wood, it's fun as anything to turn wet wood. But the problem is wet wood as it dries, twists and turns and cracks and does all sorts of stuff. And so what typically you do is you take that wet wood and you wrap it. I've seen people wrap it in paper bags with shavings. I use a lot of saran wrap. It's on wrapping to wrap it. But the idea is to slow down the end grain moisture exodus to make it so it dries evenly, so that it's going to twist, but then it hopefully won't crack. And then the second turn is where you retrue the shape. So you put it back in, you retrue the shape, and then you retrue the inside to the dimensions you actually want. And that's what twice turning is. Okay.
Thank you.
So, okay.
All right, so last month's meeting, I got a piece of ash off the table back there, had a crack running all the way through it. So this is the first thing I've ever actually completed a turn on. Just so it's ash, walnut oil and beeswax on it. And then Paul Zirkle gave me a nice walnut log that I was able to get this little bowl out of that I was rushing to finish last night so I could bring it in today. But then, this is the second thing I've ever finished turning. So
How much of the ash or what was that?
yeah, this was an ash.
How much was wasted out of it? So,
It was probably about that big to start with. So
that's what you got from here though, is that?
yes, yeah, it would look like that. And then so I had a little recess in there, cut it back, and then you just carve that away when you're done, and then dishing out the.
Oh,
Great, good work.
I'm next.
Yes, sir. You're not. You're up.
Yeah. Okay, when I was out the woodcraft, they had some nice little blinds on this here walnut. Makes a nice little vase for dry stuff. My neighbor had a small limb fall out of it.
There we go.
There we go.
There you go.
And, about this big around. And it was better than 50 feet. Some of it's firewood. And he wants me to take a lot of this here And so I turned this little bowl. It was just a little bit wet. Got a little bit of a crack in there. So I'll leave it there for dry stuff. You know, potato chips or something like that. And this is about a 10-inch little bowl. And it's segmented 16 there. Yep. Wallet for a feature ring. And that's about it.
Nice work.
Okay.
Yes.
Demonstrator from our symposium, that stuff that's left over from the symposium. I thought I'd review it with everybody because a lot of people didn't get to do the symposium. But the idea is to turn part of your turning round and the other part of it in a football shape. So that takes some gluing. So you end up taking a piece of wood that's in the center, that's going to be the piece of wood that you throw away. And then the two pieces on either side are the parts that make the goblet or whatever you decide to turn. And the ability to accomplish that is you put some brown paper in your joint. So when you glue it all together, you've got that paper joint that you can, once you've made your turning, you can take that paper joint and put a chisel in it or something like that, and you can split it apart. So as you see here, there's the paper. And this is the part of the wood that we're going to throw away. If you're turning the goblet or whatever it is, if you put a couple of holes in there, as you're turning it, you can see how deep you're going into your carving or into your turning to make it as delicate as you wish. So once you've taken these two pieces, you leave that center portion really thick, so that when you put it back on the lathe, you end up with a tenon that looks kind of egg-shaped, and it will fit into your chuck. And then you take these two pieces, once you have to, I'll back up a little bit. You got to sand off that paper. Let's just take a piece of sandpaper and rub it back and forth until you've taken that off. And you can glue those two pieces back together, and that gives you that football shape. And you take that and put it back on the lathe, and then you can turn this center section that'll be round. So you have to decide what part of your turning you want to have round, and then when you return it, you can complete that portion. It's actually a pretty simple process. Take a lot of wood.
I wasn't sure if I brought this in before. I made this for our gallery art show last fall. It's a piece of ambrosia maple that I turned and carved, and then it's got sculpt nouveau, like patina paint on it, so it's like a metal paint. You paint it and then you spray this stuff and it gives the copper or brass, whatever patina. I forget what I use. I think it's copper. Yeah. So that's it.
Good job.
Sorry, Jack. We'll get it done.
Okay. This is something I've been turning and people have been asking me how to do the process. And it's all these have the same process on them, that one or this one, but they're applied differently. I'll explain that. And also this teapot has the same process. I can explain on this. What this is, after you turn it, you have to seal it. And then what I did, I put black lacquer on it. And I use this kind of lacquer, Mohawk. I use their colored lacquer, and I also use their clear lacquer. I found this is the best lacquer you can use because it doesn't give you any fish eyes or rays, nothing. It's really smooth. You can see it. So once you do that, you put the black on. I actually paint this, and the way I do this coloring is I get a dab of this iridescent paint, and I put a dab of it here, and I use an airbrush with no paint in it. And with the airbrush, the reason why I use an airbrush because you can't have too much paint. If you have too much paint, it's not going to blow it out. So with the airbrush, you can control actually where you want the paint to move. And this just like fill in the blanks. You know, you put, let's say you start with green, you put green wherever you want it, and you start manipulating it wherever you want. And then you put the other color and you do the same thing until you're satisfied with, you know, how it looks. After you do that, and it's dry, naturally, what I did, then I cut the grooves here and here, both of them. So then I actually finish this, or I missed a piece. I do the bow at the very end, so I don't have to paint. I don't have to tape here. I just spray it black, and after it's all done, then I can cut the bow, and it's all done. And then I put lacquer on it. That's how this is done. But I usually dilute it with. This is the stuff that I use. It's Joe Sonia paint. You can either buy them in this. This is a kit that you can buy, and it has all the different colors in it. It's got 6 different colors, and I use this stuff, Liquid X. It's a flow medium. What it does, it makes the paint flow better, so it doesn't, you know, bead together.
How much is the kit?
Yeah, the kit, well, it was around $30.
Yeah, $33 on, Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. There used to be a place in Grand Rapids where I used to buy these. When I bought this, it was 30. Now it went up, and I think that place closed. So, but now I have them in bigger bottles that are about this much. They're about 50 for 5 or 6 colors that they have. But when if you go to Joe Sonia, you have to make sure that you ask for the iridescent paints, because Joe Sonia makes all kinds of paints and lacquers and all kinds different.
What do you use for your sealer?
For the sealer, I use 2 different sealers. Sometimes I use de-waxed shellac, and I mix it either 50-50 with DNA, the natured alcohol, or else I use, it has to be de-waxed. Well, so when you buy it, you buy that bullseye, it has to be de-waxed. It's not the yellow can, it's the other color can.
The pinkish color now.
Yeah.
Did you mean a finished sealer or a pre-sealer?
It's a pre-sealer to seal the wood. It's important to seal the wood, otherwise you're gonna, even when you just to do the back, I have about maybe 8 or 9 coats of lacquer here, but sealing the wood makes it so you get an even finish when you seal it. And then I use 800 grit sandpaper. You just touch it up, and it comes really, really smooth.
And you apply your sealer with a rag.
With a rag, yes. And then I just spray it. But I want to show the difference here, what the flow medium does. This one I did, look at the difference between one and the other one. This one I did it the same way without using flow medium. So with iridescent paint, if it's not thinned out, when you take it out of a tube, the iridescent paint, it's all white. You cannot tell the difference.
Really?
Yes. It only, you can only see the color once it thins down, and you always have to apply it on a darker background. If you put it on a white background, you're not gonna have that effect. You still see it, but it's a lot different. So like this one, I did not mix it, and I wanted to show the difference, the importance of you know, mixing it, the flows. And this one here is a teapot. This is actually cherry. Yeah, and I did it the same way. We start spraying it with the airbrush.
Which one did you use with Liquitex? Which plate?
This one,
That used, okay.
yes.
So that makes it pop more.
Yeah. What it does, it makes it more transparent. It makes the paint more transparent. You can see through it. Instead of, you can actually see the color instead of seeing it white. Because it's thick, it makes it more liquidy, flows better, and then you're gonna see it, you actually see the true color. That's it. Yeah.
I'll bring something for you to try, if you said it doesn't work on white. If you put a little, barely tiny bit of black in the paint, you'll get the black effect that'll show up on like.
You mean in
Like
the background?
black, like dip a little bit of the paint and stir a little black into that iridescent.
Yes.
And then you'll get the color coming out.
Okay, you see, that's a different way, you know? That's what's nice about this. We got different ideas.
Put the black in the iridescent thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Like very tiny little bit.
Yeah.
Like.
Yes, my name is Ron Pullman. I just wanted to encourage everybody to go to our workshops that we have on Saturdays. They're not super well attended, I don't think, and they should be better. And I made this during one of our workshops. I want to thank Jen Shippen, who let me borrow his microcarver and his burr tool to make a little, I don't know if you can see this right. There you go. Make a little cuts in it. And then I also painted the rim here black. I didn't use the same kind of paint that Alfred used, but anyway, I painted it black, and then I used iridescent paint in to fill the holes, and then I sanded it off and finished it, right?
Okay.
So
Each step, did you go, what did you do first and then?
so I made the platter first,
Okay,
then I came to the workshop, and I used a burr
okay,
with the microcarver to carve some divots, I guess, in the wood. Then I went home and I painted the rim black, all right. And then I also then laid in some of the iridescent paints and it's gold.
each hole.
Well, I just painted it on.
Oh,
right?
okay, that's.
Yeah, and then I used sandpaper to sand all that off and sand it off. It wasn't in the hole, it was last, right? So anyway, so that's this platter, and it's poplar. It's not an expensive wood, but it's just an experiment I was doing.
What's your final coats to make it shiny?
And then I use lacquer to as the finish coat. And then I'm gonna be doing a demo in January, I hope, if I can figure out how to use the indexer on this lathe. The cupcake box, and this is a cupcake box. So it's very good. So, anyway, it's not amazing.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Strohmeyer, and I have a couple of bowls here that are actually made from sweet gum. And that came from a tree that was taken down in my neighbor's yard. If you know anything about sweet gum, it has all those little tiny gumballs that are prickly. They land all winter long in your sidewalk. I had one. I had the city come to take it down because it was just too dangerous. You walk along it and they're frozen into the sidewalk, so you have trouble getting them up. But your snowblower grabs it and throws it, becomes a missile, or you step on it and your feet want to go flying. So, but neighbors had one, they had it taken down, and these are the two bowls. Now this The moment I hit it with the wax, it just darkened up and they just became absolutely beautiful. And so they have a really nice, my wife loves it. She just loves the feel. She just wants to sit there and keep feeling it. Are all the marks off perfect? No. But it has a nice good texture and feel to it. And that's what she loves on it. So.
So you didn't
They
seal
were-
it with anything?
Pardon?
You didn't really seal it other than the wax?
No. I put a couple coats on and just buffed it in, rubbed it in. And I don't have one of the big highfalutin buffing systems, so it's a matter of. I think, matter of fact, I think I handheld them, just use a little buffing ball on my drill. Yeah.
We don't feel it?
So this is easy, what Albert said. Thanks, Albert. I did get some, Alfred, I'm sorry. I did that at the.
Yeah.
I did at the picnic. Alfred, I talked with Alfred a couple of times. He gave me some good tips and, I was surprised it came out as well as it did first time. I thought I'd end up taking the finish off of it and redoing it. But the way he says to do it, it really works well. It's easy to do. Hardest part is getting your lacquer finishes on there. And I used the satin black for the background, and then I used a gloss, clear gloss on the top. So the top and base on that is made from called a Malaysian hardwood. I have a bunch of table legs. I worked in the furniture business, so I just use the table legs since it's going to be painted to turn them into finials and bases. Right. That's where you get your three-legged tables from. This is called a splash bowl. I saw these on Pinterest, saw a few people posting them. And this took a while. If you want to drive yourself crazy, do this all in one sitting. It'll take hours. And I could have finished it a little bit better inside, but I wasn't sure how it was going to come out. I really wanted to try the process. But basically, while it's on the lathe, you turn it. You can turn it this way where it has an upward motion and turn a rounded rim. Or you could do like a bowl where it splashes out and you put your rounded ends on it, and you have to kind of vision how you want your drops to go and anywhere in between. So then while it was on the lathe, I drilled holes into it. And then I went to my scroll saw and I cut triangles. I cut triangles to each side of the hole, that I drilled, and you can vary the holes. Now, some of them, if you're carving and it gets too thin like this one, they'll break off. So that was a drop, but I had to work it into the design. Same thing over here. I had another small one, but you work it into the design. It doesn't matter. Just play with it and have a lot of fun with it. But if you don't like hand sanding, this is not for you. But so every time I had my Fordham tool out and had a few minutes, I'd carve a little bit, and then just hand sanded all those little tips just to see how it would work. Now, next time I'm going to spend a little more time and do the interior.
What's the wood?
Oh, that's walnut.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, you're right.
You're nuts. Yeah, that's very cool.
All right, have me hold it up. This is part of I was asked to be part of the demonstration for the symposium, and this is something that I've been carving for about 30 years and joined the club, and then all of a sudden realized that I could create what in the carving area is called a rough out. So I've actually turned a piece of basswood to this shape. So you can see where important thing when carving this is the nose. And so he was able to leave this portion and carve off the rest. And then the brim for the hat, and then basically remove the tenon. This is a pattern, it's a 2x2 by 4 inch piece of basswood. And I created a pattern to follow. And then basically going through the steps of starting to carve
Right there.
and then coming up to the end, and then finishing and painting it. And part of that process also is to turn a finial that will be put onto it. It's something I think is very different than what I was doing before, as much as I enjoy the
That's awesome.
and then I have a cap for it. But based on that now, because of the number I need to turn for friends, I've eliminated the cap, and I'll just put a eyelet in it to it. So.
Nice, Henry. That's a good demo.
Alfred and I have been lucky to have Ed and Henry on Wednesday nights come over and teach us how to carve.
They're trying hard.
Yeah. You ought to see our noses and faces.
So this is that last demonstration there. Your demo was excellent.
Hold your smile there and get you that.
Okay.
There you go.
These are both done different ways. I like working with resin. I buy it at Menards, like half gallon or gallon in one box, works great for me. This is with segments on top. This one was done with a mold, like a little paint bucket, and you get a smaller bucket. So you have about a 1/2 inch clearance between the two sizes. If you get some fancy wood that you don't want to throw away, like a burl, and you have all these extra pieces, you jam them in there, and you get that effect. And I use clear resin, and then I had a syringe with a straw, and I made some dye in the resin. I sucked up a little bit and then injected it and gave it some colors. Without making it all blue, I have the combination of the two. This one is done differently. They're both mulberry. This one was a solid piece, a bunch of scrap pieces. If you look at it, you see all the seams in that. You need a solid base on both of them to put it in the truck. You don't want to do it just resin. So I had a solid piece, put it together with band pipe clamp. Then I wrapped cellophane round and around, and then I took the clamp away, then left it open, then I filled it with resin. When it hardened, then you turn it, and you end up with, because you make it really elaborate, it sticks up all over the place. Just don't lose an eye when you're doing this. And then you have that 3D effect. So if you get that fancy wood you don't want to get rid of, and you don't want to make a little pen out of it, you have luck. I got another one back there, the infinity piece. Yeah, I go through a lot of resin.
Thank you guys very much.
This is really unique what he's bringing up. Found a rubber tree.
Got that from Home Depot?
What it is?
Is it Home Depot 2x4s?
You gotta do this and not lose an eye. Down on the lathe. It looks complicated,
Yeah.
but it's not. I should be able to do a demo in the future.
Yeah, raise that up. There we go.
That's in cement now. Yeah.
This is all black walnut. When I did this one, I had a solid piece of walnut about, I don't know, 13 inches round, about 1 inch thick. Put it on the lathe and I started cutting rings. An 8 inch, 7 inch, 6 inch. So you got all these rings. You look confused.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only this is thick,
Yeah, it's just about an inch, inch and a quarter thick.
but you had a plank on the lathe.
I put that bowl, that plate, you're making a plate type thing. It's a thick 1 1/4 inch, about 13 inches round.
Okay.
Put it on the lathe and you cut the first ring, let it come out, and you want to try and get as close to the same thickness, so you make a little template.
Okay.
So you do one, then you do another one and another one, so they're all different sizes. And then you got to cut it in half. You look, you'll see where the seams are. And then you turn around, take an 8 inch piece and attach it to a 6 inch piece, and then you end up with all these different things. And then you got, it's a sloppy piece, in my opinion. I'm gonna do a demo at one point that, we do it with segmented pieces. And it should come out even, and I'm just gonna do a simple infinity with segmented pieces.
Oh.
Questions?
Yeah, they did that at Campbell's Retreat, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. Great job.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Still maintain, because that is very valuable. I think I learned a bunch from it. And I hope you guys enjoyed showing off your work to the audience and to the members and the members online. Now, we are to take a 5-minute break, and I am going to take a 5-minute break. Then we're gonna come back together, and we're gonna hand it over to Jeff to do our demo. Okay, if you have any questions, see me, the store is open, get some raffle tickets. I have the order forms for the chef specialties, if you need an order form. So please take a break, and we will meet back here at 11:02. You understand that. That's great. So see, I had to put on my geek hat and refresh myself because I used to have to deal with these things in my past life. So you can look at any MSDS sheet, like let's take one for MSDS is a material safety data sheet. They've abbreviated sometimes to just safety data sheet. They look like this with all kinds of info on it. And the big thing about the hieroglyphics and or the Greek language on it is it doesn't make a lot of sense unless you learned what this stuff is. So I'm gonna try to give you a quick, without putting you to sleep, education on where to go and what to look for. No matter what you're using in your shop, it doesn't matter whether you're using lacquer, you could even acrylic enamel. Okay, it's supposed to be pretty safe to use, but everything has an odor or a VOC and could or could not be harmful. What they've done though recently was they've done a GHS, which is a globally harmonized system. So now they want everybody talking the same language so that you can kind of make sense of what they're talking about. If you look at the categories in there, so now they have categories, excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you would think that category 1 is okay, category 5 isn't. Well, it's the other way around. A category 1 rating on any solvent, whether it's dermal or inhalation or ingestion, is the worst. As you go from category 1 to category 2, it's getting better, and then it gets better, and not that it's safe, but it's better. So as an example, I'll give you something. They talk about skin corrosion. Skin corrosion?
Well, skin corrosion, I have to read this. It's irreversible damage to the skin following the application of a test substance for up to 4 hours. Sometimes it's result of not human studies, but results of observing someone that's had it happen. And other times they use animals. For instance, the skin corrosion category 1. That is a destruction of your dermal tissue. If you see something with skin in a category 1, you better be wearing some protection. Now, it may only be, that's the wrong one. It may only be for, if it's only on there for a few moments and you wash it off, you may not see any damage. But if it's on there for 15, 20 minutes, that's where you're going to get your, you never heard skin corrosion, but that's what they call it. Damage to the dermal layer. Excuse me, skin irritation category 2. So it's going up and it's getting less. So that's reversible adverse effects in skin. That's still, it's pretty easy. You can mitigate again, wash it. You get the stuff on, you wash it off. And then mild category 3 is a mild skin irritation. You might see a little redness. So the point here is wear gloves, wear PPE, that we all personal protection equipment. Wear it no matter what you're doing. So you want to put that on? Go ahead. She wants to put this on. So the one that we're probably most lax on, everybody's lax on, is the inhalation. So inhalation.
She's flying, I think. That's why
Yeah.
she put that on.
These are, most of you have seen these. These are pretty simple masks. But the key thing about these is these cartridges, you have to have the
Get her on the camera.
organic 6001. There's other ones. There's, did you see that?
Next safety talk.
And they don't last forever. So if you're doing something like I've done a lot of painting with even acrylic enamels, and you'll be amazed, you do not smell. If you smell lacquer thinner or anything through that, it's dead. Get rid of it. But you put it on, you'll be amazed that if you're not smelling it, it's not a guarantee. There's still some elements probably in those aromatics that could come through. But these, according to NHTSA, or not NHTSA, the NIOSH, these will protect you against that.
And
So-
you date them.
I date them when I open them. When you open it, it'll tell you, pay attention. I mean, you can try it. I use it for pesticides and other stuff too. But be diligent about replacing them and using. Everybody using lacquer.
Yeah, I use them a lot for spraying lacquer.
Yeah.
And it's true, it's unbelievable. You're using it, you don't smell anything. You're still in the same room, you take it off. Wow, it hits
Yeah.
you right away.
Yeah.
So they do work.
So, and probably one of the biggest things besides the lacquer you pay attention to, but the CA glue accelerator. That's not friendly to you, but you can, you use a little bit and walk away. It's not going to overdose. Yes. You have a question? Is there-
The organic filters, once you open them from their original package, they start to collect water, moisture in the air. So if you want to reuse them again, which they don't really encourage, you should put them in a Ziploc bag.
It's a good point. Okay.
Yeah.
So what he was saying is the organic filters will absorb moisture and that'll start to
Once you
degrade
open
them once you open it. So you can date them, you can take them off. For those of you that don't have one of these, that's all they do. They come off like this. And if you don't have them, I suggest buy one. They also have, you can use them for,
Then he said to put it into a plastic bag.
so this whole thing would go in a plastic bag if you, I can't quite get that off.
Yeah, you can buy those filters from the
But-
inside separate.
This is the organic
Yeah.
part of it. This other part is the dust particle. So if you're just wearing this as a dust filter, that's good too. If you have an old one, you want to just wear it as a dust filter with the new cleaner dust in there. That works for sanding and stuff. So sanding is another hazardous element that we don't pay enough attention to.
Did you mention it when you said about putting it in
Yeah.
plastic bag after you take it out?
But yeah, so as you said, if you put it in a plastic bag, it'll extend its life. But if you put it on and you smell something, it's finished. So a couple of the other chemicals, just quickly, because everybody thinks these are, and I'm just gonna give them to you, if not, let's see, I know I have it in here. Denatured alcohol. You know, that's that's ethyl alcohol, methanol, and isopropanol. In that order, but it's mostly about 90% ethyl alcohol. So that has this is something I'm sure everybody uses. The health hazard, acute toxicity, it's a category 4, so it's not going to kill you unless you drink a gallon or a quart of it. Skin corrosion, category 2. So it's not a 1, but it's a 2. So you can get irritation, dehydration in your skin. It probably won't damage the dermal layer. Serious eye damage, that's category 2. So if you get it in your eyes, it's going to sting and burn. Mitigate it. Flush, get some water in there. Always have some water in your shop. Have it handy for anything like that. Water's still a good remedial liquid for incidents like that. Aspiration, it's a category 1. So don't suck that stuff in.
You know what, in Europe, it's called methylated spirit.
Yeah.
Natured alcohol. And the reason why it's a different color, not like ours, is colorless, because people were drinking it. It's very high and people were actually drinking it instead of alcohol.
It's ethyl alcohol,
Yeah.
95% ethyl alcohol.
So they put that color in it, that dye, to make it like a purple, so people don't drink it.
Now, one of the things I didn't mention because Alfred was just saying that methylated, the denatured alcohols, they used to call it methylated spirit. They call it that in Europe, so that people won't drink it. Has a bad name. But most people knew that denatured alcohol is 95% ethyl alcohol, which is what you want for a buzz. If you
This guy's a good idea.
I heard it.
Well, they put methanol in it, so that's the reason why, because that will cause blindness.
Yeah.
Blindness.
Goes great with typos, right?
The other thing I didn't mention was, and I know nobody in here has to worry about that, is genetic mutations in reproductive systems. So we'll probably pass all that.
Always.
I'm speaking for genetic mutation.
Well, you're the example.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't let this happen to you.
I know we all had from our youth, and when we were doing all this, there were never any precautions. I know.
We're supposed to stop.
Well, you know, we're all older, but this is where now you can get cancer. We all know that. And you can have other maladies, so pay attention. And just go to any new chemical you get or any chemical you use, go to the website and look up the safety data sheet. Just for your own info. And if you're not, you know, if you don't, that's fine. And I can, if anybody wants links to these, especially this 91-page document on how to read an NFPS sheet, just to know what everything means.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's it. I'm done.
Thank you.
That was great.
Yes, I'll turn it over to you. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Oh.
Hey, that's my fault.
That's okay. Is that better?
No.
A little bit.
There you go.
That sounds good.
Yes, it's got a fine line in it, so. So today I'm gonna do a demo on whiskey smoker. I do want to cover a couple things real quick first. Number one, if I've got pen tips for those of you who want to turn pens into troops. The turn date will be the November meeting. You bring them into me then. You can mail them to me if you want. Some people have done that already because they're not sure they're going to get the November meeting. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. At the end of the meeting, if you want any, let me know. I got them. I do want to cover real quick the symposium, and this is just kind of a view from 50,000 feet, my experience. We're going to have a lessons learned meeting about it, to talk about it and everything, and then Mark's going to come back with a full report. But it was better than we thought it was going to be. I mean, we were just amazed. We walked into it Saturday morning very nervous, and we did not really have a good idea how many people are going to show up. Because people for these events, and I've done these kind of events for years, it's hard to get people to pre-register. We ended up with about 75 people, a lot of people at the door. I was worried about cash machines, so I had everybody bring cash machines and everything. One registration on my credit card machine, everything else was cash. It was an amazing day. The vendors were all tickled pink. They made all kinds of great money. The demonstrators all said everybody was fantastic to work with. Nobody complained about a thing, which is very good. So it was just a great event. And Mark will give you a full report and everything once we get all the numbers figured out and all that stuff. So that's just my view from 50,000 feet. So I'm going to cover today what I mentioned in show and tell, and that's my whiskey smoker. Show of hands, how many of you have seen a whiskey smoker in action? Okay, very good. It's a hot trend right now. I never heard of it myself. Until about 3 months ago, I had a group of friends that I've been meeting with once a month for dinner. And that's been going on for close to 20 years now. And one of the guys ordered a smoked bourbon. And they brought it up and they set it down in front of him with a puck on top. And he took it off and the smoke comes whipping out of it and everything. And what the heck is that? He goes, it's a smoked bourbon. Have you ever seen that before? No, and I'm an old bartender. And so I ran up and started talking to the bartender. He goes, I don't know what the fad is, but everybody orders them and we get an extra $2 a drink for doing it. So I said, I'm going to make them and sell them. So at the Shelby Art Fair, I made my first batch. And at the Shelby Art Fair, I sold 7 of the individual smokers, and I sold 8 kits, which is a $50 kit that has samples and the special lighter and everything in it. So they're a seller, and so they're a lot of fun. What I make is for personal use. The one you see in barter. If you look this up on the internet, you're going to find every shape and size imaginable, including some really massive things with pumps in them. Very intricate stuff that costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Bars will use the big thick ones so they gotta last a long time. You'll see them with chimneys on top. We call them a chimney smoker. Works the exact same way. You'll see them with chimneys underneath that sit between the puck and the bourbon or the whiskey. And the idea of that is to keep sparks and stuff from going down into your drink. With what I do using a special screen, I've not had any acid or sparks or anything go down to the drink. Now, I'm going to say this right up front. I have no idea what the craze is. People who love it swear that it changes the flavor. Chemically, doesn't make sense to me. When I tried it, there was no change to the bourbon flavor. What I noticed, though, was the bourbon flavor and the smell of the smoke enhanced it. So it did make it a lot more pleasurable. Except for the night I demonstrated for Eddie Castle on the Worldwide Wood Tenders, and I demonstrated, held up, here you go, guys. Took a swig and started gagging from the smoke going up my nose. That's it, it works great. So, Eddie got a good kick out of that one. So anyway, we're gonna go through this today. I do want to preface this today. I brought my trucks from my shop. I was gonna do it the way I do it. And I generally start out with I generally make these on a vacuum truck. But I left the handles of my truck key at home. So last minute snafu, we're going to modify everything. We're going to do it exactly how we're going to do it next week in the workshop. So I like to start out with a 4-inch round circle. And I like to use oak or red oak, especially red oak, simply because of the grain. It looks great, especially when it's finished. So that means I have to get a 1x6, and I just get them at Lowe's. And I cut it 4 inches square. This becomes a pen blank, so there's no waste. Then I take it to the bandsaw and I cut it close to the circle. Everybody see that okay? Okay. And then I also take my compass and I make a 1-inch round circle there. That's going to be kind of your point of stopping when you're turning it, because you want to make a little kind of concave groove. You can see that right there. So it comes down. So that's your point. You don't want to go beyond that point with your gouge. I use my carbides. I showed these off
couple months ago, the Chinese carbides. I use these when I make them. I'm gonna use the carbide for, making a tenon, which I don't normally have, but we'll have to have tenons here. And then I'm gonna use my regular blow gouge to do the rest. So, in this case, what we're gonna do is we're going to put it right up. It's basically 3/4 of an inch, one by sock. Red oak from Lowe's.
It's gotta be from Lowe's.
From Lowe's. I just like it because it's great looking and it's hard, so it works out really well. This smoker will give you up to 100 smokes before you have to replace it. So,
That's one weekend.
1 weekend, yeah. I was telling somebody earlier, I've got a friend who, I hate to say this, but he's a bit of an alkie. And he got one from me at the Shelby Art Fair, and I was talking to him earlier this week just to get an idea of how well it's holding out. And I said, how many have you done? He goes, I've done about 50 so far, and it's doing good. I said, okay. So, there we go. What I'm going to do is get this round. Now, the circle I drew for the 4 inches around, I'm going to turn that to that circle. And I'm going to use my roughing gouge for that. I generally turn it about 1500 RPM. Okay, I was turning a little lighter than I normally do simply because of how we have this kind of jammed up against the truck. So the thing we're going to do now is we're going to make a tenon, and I generally will make the tenon right about just a hair before I get to the jaws that are fully closed. That way I know that when I open them up, the tenon will slip right into it. Now, when I use a vacuum chuck at home, I don't make a tenon, of course. So the tenon we're going to make here is going to be very narrow, about 1/8 of an inch. And that will, that should do the trick. Let's see. I beg your pardon?
You use the vacuum chuck, you just start with the vacuum chuck and not.
Yes, and I have my tail sock brought up. Oh, good. My pencil is, the lead got broken.
So here's what we'll do.
Here you go. Going.
Wait, on. Thank you. I will generally make a mark about the halfway point.
Yeah, those break.
Yeah. That's okay, I can see it. Thank you. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the shaping of this. Basically, and this is a really easy project too. We're basically gonna be sending it out and tapering it down through that line. I've got a 1/4 hold out. And I like to try to get a good touch, just to kind of keep track of what I'm doing and not to keep in. And just like the middle, we're right in the middle. Now I'm stopping about a 1/4 inch from that interior circle for a reason. And remember, turn with your body. Very light touch here. Now come backwards and do it straight. Check it out here. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now I'll touch up the straight the ends a little bit. And it's down for the top and the bottom. You can very easily get a lot of tear out on the edge. That's looking pretty good. So I can bring that in a little bit for that circle. And believe it or not, when I turn these out, batch out 20 at a time. Well, 2.5 hours to make a whole batch of them. So that's the turning part of it. It's not a complicated thing at all. What I'll do at this point then, and I'm not going to do the whole process with it, but at this point is when I sand from 80 to 600.
And truth be told, if I'm batching these things out, I do power sanding. I get my drill out and do it that way. I sand about 3 to 350. And the most critical part for your sanding is going to be on the end, because the end grain, if not sanded enough, it's going to be kind of white and flaky looking. So, so really the most important part for that is the 80 grit. Not looking bad there. And of course, we'll get that line, that circle off. That's all we couldn't do it, PTA.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go through these real quick. And I don't know if anybody took notice to it when I passed it around after show and tell, but there is no finish on it. And I do that on purpose. Doesn't matter if it's wax or lacquer or anything like that. If you put a finish on it, you're going to be burning it, and I don't know if that's going to create a problem for your ingesting. Yes, yeah. Pardon? 600. There it is. It's starting. Now comes the drilling. For the drilling, I use carbide Forstner bits. Oh, there we go. These are Chinese Forstner bits I got in kit from Amazon, and they're actually really good. You know, I'm quite impressed with them. I always start out, there's two holes. You got to turn a 5/8 and a 1/2 inch is the narrow one that goes all the way through. The 5/8 is where your screen is going to set. And I turn that generally to be about 1/4 inch deep.
You say those are carbide?
They're carbide, yeah. But the edges have got little carbides on it. I don't know if you can talk about that or not.
Yeah.
Okay. And because I'm drilling, it's basically the same as it's basically the same as I'm sanding. We take it slow. So I'm only going to go in about 1/4 inch. I will also stand here with the air gun. You keep blasting it to keep the stuff out of there. Okay, so that's the width for the color of your screen is set. And this is going to be the hole that goes all the way through. Now, this is one that you want to take slow because as you exit out the bottom, because you're working with a rental, you can splinter out quite a bit. Sometimes there's just no way around that. I'll just take some sandpaper and it usually cleans it up and it looks okay. Beg your pardon? I don't do that with a vacuum truck. I use my cold dogs. Yeah. Yeah, vacuum truck is great up to a point.
Keep it all.
I'll also mark my drill bit. So I know just before I'm exiting the bottom, so I go real slow. This may very well have a slinger out, but that's okay. Attention drums. Now, believe it or not, even with the turning, we're actually almost the full thickness of what the board was when I bought it, which is close to 3/4 of an inch. Oh, I'm feeling good. Really small.
Hey, Deb, with the second hole, the hole you're doing now, can you take that out, turn it around? So that, grab it from the outside and the circumference and do it the other way.
The trick with that is you got nothing to hold it with.
Repeat the question.
No,
Oh,
you
yeah,
turn that around and now you're holding into a bigger.
and drill from the back.
And drill from the back.
I guess in hindsight, yeah, that's probably what I should have done first. I should have drilled in the 1/8 of an inch and then started my process. Yeah, thank you.
Repeat what you just said.
He asked about, to keep from getting tear out, if I should have turned the hole to the bottom first. And that makes sense, yeah, you to go by 1/8 of an inch deep. And you'll also find out then how good your Forstner bits are too, because some Forstner bits are not perfectly centered, and when you go from the opposite direction, they don't use. Good question, though, thank you.
With your tenon on there, you're gonna have an 1/8 leeway to sand off if it's chipped.
Yeah,
You're gonna take the center off, you're gonna take the.
well, the tenon's gonna have to come off, yeah,
And anything that broke is gonna come off.
that's true, yeah. Yeah, but when I do it with my vacuum truck, I don't have that option, so that's a good idea. I never thought of that. Don't go why. Any other questions? Okay. I can do it all through. This is so much different from my radar. Well, a little bit there, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. You see that? So I just pull it towards the hole, a little bit of sandpaper, and we should be fine. I'm not gonna take off the tenon on this demonstration, but there it is. So from that, you get these little screen tips from Amazon, and I'm gonna put a link out when I put the video on. I'm gonna have a link for that, and also for the lighter I'm gonna use, because the lighter is very important. In these small units, you want to have a 3-burner lighter. Because you want a lot of heat. If you don't, if you just use a cheap, 1-burner lighter, it's the smoke is just going to trickle. In bars, they use a kitchen torch like they use for making creme brulee and stuff like that. And they really hold it right down onto that. But you don't need to go out and spend $45 for a torch.
I'll figure it out.
About $10 overhead.
Oh, really?
You can get, yeah, the front and you, they're equivalent. There's butane, you can put them in the back.
Yeah. The lighter I'm going to be using, is what's in my kit, it's a high-end cigar lighter. So this is basically, can you put the overhead camera?
Yeah, how would you take the pen?
Well, I wouldn't normally have a tenon, but in this case, what you could do is you could bring up the tailstock with a cone center on it. And then just take your tenon off, and then when you get down to just a very little bit left over, you can sand it off. You can take a good wood chisel if you got it, chisel it off. Either way, you'll have to sand it. Big part. You could put it in the cold draws if you got cold draws, yeah.
You can put it in a bigger chuck too.
Yes, you could do that. If you've got 3-inch jaws for your chuck, this will go in nicely. So anyways, this is the screen. Like I said, these are made for pipes, not the kind of pipes that Ben was demonstrating, but some of the high-end people who enjoy smoking pipes. Some of the high-end pipes have these screens in them. When I used to smoke a pipe, it was a cheap Dr. Grable, so it was a little paper filter I stuck in. So basically, it just sets right down into it like that. There you go. You have it.
That's the whole thing?
That's the whole thing.
Can you show us how it works?
We're going to show you how it works. Now, Alfred, in the board meetings, you joked around about being a taste tester. Okay, good. So anyways, I do want to say, the reason I go a 1/4 inch deep on these is one of the big secrets for the ones you see in bars and restaurants. If they're not using the big screen, if they're using a little screen like this, is they put a lot down in there. So this should give us more depth to hold more chips.
You start the chips with it.
Yes, I sell samples. And then I give you an address so you can get them from Amazon. And I'll have that with the video also.
Now, the chips, is something you can make or?
Yes.
What?
Here's the chips that I did from Amazon. These are smoking chips made specifically for this type of use, smaller smokers.
What kind of wood is it?
This is hickory. They got it in hickory, alder, I don't make sense, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Cherry and oak. The most popular are cherry, oak, and hickory. Yep. So, and these are,
Hickory lasts a long time too.
these are already nicely sized. Now, you can also go to the grocery store and just buy smoking chips and put them in a coffee grinder. Just don't let the wife know.
It's not fine.
It's fine. It's too fine. Yeah, number one. And number two, you're also touching the pools and stuff like that, and they have chemicals on for whatever. Like I said, you can buy these from Amazon. This is relatively cheap. I bought a 4-pack for like $14.
My car lasts a long time.
It's gonna last a long time.
Well,
Actually,
yeah.
this was filled up to this point. This was filled up to this point, and this is all the farther I have gone down in making the 25 that I've made.
You've been drinking.
Well, no, my customers have.
Only when he was president.
I put 1 ounce, basically half an ounce sample of each in the kits. Okay, let me show you that real quick.
So is that hickory?
That's hickory. Overhead camera. This is the kit. This is the kit that I sell for $50. It has the puck. It has an acid brush for cleaning. It's got cherry, hickory, and oak, and the high-end lighter. And I'm getting nothing but good reports on it. So let's get to the most important part. I was rummaging around the shelves in the back, and I found this.
Oh, you got the good stuff. Yeah, high end.
That's what they tell me. Yeah.
You worried about using your own wood chips and drinking that?
You want to do it before? Alfred, go with it. Alfred, you want to do it before?
Yeah, do it before that.
Okay. I'm having trouble hearing her. For me, it's a standard type. I've seen them a little bit bigger.
I've seen people make them where they have one type of glass, they'll use the brandy sifter, and they actually put a collar underneath to fit tightly into that. I don't see the need for that. To me, it's like my tea lights, make them fast, make them simple, and sell them. Yeah. Yeah.
Very fine. Good, good. Want me to think about that?
No, just take it there.
I want to see what you guys are doing over there.
Okay.
Here.
You want to say also?
Did you guys test negative today?
Alfred's gonna need somebody to ride him home.
He can't find his way home without this.
Yeah.
I'd be more careful now.
There we go.
Yeah, like I said, this was very popular on Worldwide Woodturners
Yeah,
podcast
I bet it was.
until I started getting. Okay, let's
Can't
get
handle your liquor.
on this.
There you go. Oh, let me get you.
You're in the overhead.
The overhead. I'll get there. Come on. There you go.
There we are. Okay. Now, I made a demo for this for the show, and I published it out there on the internet. And somebody who's apparently a heavy user of this said, and I put it on top and I put my shavings in. He goes, why do you do it that way? Why don't you just put your shavings in first and then put it on top? And I, okay. There's crates everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically,
So you're packing it.
I'm packing it in, not real hard, I'm just tapping. Yeah, we want the air to go through it. And I'm filling it up. Now, this is the lighter that I'm using. It's a high-end cigar lighter. Even comes with a hole poker on the bottom if there's cigar smoke. And it's a free burner. So here goes the magic. Watch it now work now.
Gonna blow it.
Ooh.
Oh, there you go. Wow. Wow.
Well, you're not driving.
I'm gonna sit on the front porch and do that on Halloween. Oh, that's cool.
Smoke goes, if there's no wind or breeze of any kind, smoke always goes down because it's heavy. Because everything about wood is heavy. That's why paper, when they make paper, you only lose 2% of the wood's weight.
So can you leave it like that?
Yeah, the bars will serve it like this, so the smoke stays there.
Okay, so the smoke only is there while you're using the lighter?
Yes.
Well, no, it's still there. It's still,
They're sitting on top of the glass, I'm picking the smoke up, because I'm not testing it.
Can you shake it with that? Yeah, you still see the smoke coming more.
well, you make a mess if you check it.
Well, that was a good high-end lighter. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Go for it, my friend.
Wait a minute, we need Alfred on camera to do
Bring
it.
it. Go, 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 go.
We can't see Alfred.
There is a smoke flavor.
Yeah, okay, good.
Hope they're not.
Yeah.
I'm the most popular person here today.
You taste it smells the smoke, there's smoke. Yeah.
So, okay, so.
Good job.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah.
Dave will also need a ride home. Go ahead, Chuck.
They do this with like good bourbon and whiskey or just?
Listen, I've got a friend that all he ever drinks is Woodbridge Reserve, I think it's called. Woodford Reserve, he smokes it. I've got another friend smoke Basil Envy, he does that. I only do it with Jim Beam or four roses, I think it is.
It'll still kill you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
When you did your turning, did you use a dam or a chisel, or what do you use?
Oh, I use my square carbide. Right there. I use that mostly for making tendons now, and then my chucks are dovetail, so then I'll take the skew and I'll just touch on the inside to make it dovetail. So it's nice and fast.
Any other questions? I'm sorry, what?
It's so small. Keep sliding off the edge of the glass.
Yeah, I think so, but if you bump it enough to slide off the glass, usually it's still bump it enough to knock it off the glass.
Well, in that case, you can get that.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that there are 3 or 4 of them. Couple of them. I'm sorry? I sell the individual, pucks and grade with, it's 5 o'clock somewhere for $25. That's just a puck and instruction. I sell the full kit for 50, which has a brush for cleaning and 3 samples and of chips and a high-end lighter. And, the kits sell very well. There we go. Any other questions? Okay, that's a whiskey smoker, gang. Thank you very much. Okay.